This is JB for JB Express. Back looking at the X Pro header builder to begin with. Today we're going to build what is the Fat Lad Food, which is my recipe website's header within Facebook. You can see that here. I've basically got a screenshot of how it's laid out. We're going to build this entire header right down to this line in a set of step-by-step videos held together in a playlist on YouTube. So first of all, what we're going to do is create the top piece here. Now, one thing I did notice in creating this, I don't know how to get this line. So the line's been cut out, but I do know how to do the rest of it and show you the rest of it, and it's fairly straightforward. So what I'm going to do is, and what I have done is I've created a series of bars which will include all of the different parts. First one is a search bar. I'm going to create a container, and then I'm going to create three things. I need two buttons and one search inline. So we're going to do that now. I'm going to click on button. I'm going to add here. I'm going to go to search inline. I'm going to add here, and I'm going to go to button. Okay, and we've got those here. Now they don't really look like they're set up properly. And first of all, what we need to do is get the color right. So as you can hear, or as you can see here, it's actually blue in the background. So we just want to make sure that this color is correct. First of all, so I'm going to go into the actual thing, bar itself. I'm going to change its background color to the Facebook color. Now I already have this set up as a color. I do have a separate video within the tips and tricks section of my YouTube channel that shows you how to set up these colors within the template section of X Pro. So by all means, click on the card above and check that out. But we've changed the color. Now I'm going to change the actual button, the first button itself. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go into this. And what I'm going to do to begin with is set it up so that it is the same as the integrity theme. Then we're going to set up all of the different colors and get everything sorted out from there. So the background color, again, I want that to be the same as the background color of what I'm looking at. And I'm going to do that for both the base and the interaction, so that whenever I roll over this, there's no separate interaction other than here's a button that says learn more. I'm going to change that slightly in a moment. First thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to remove the border shadow. I'm going to click on the border shadow color. I'm going to type in transparent, and you'll see that that now disappears, and the only thing I've got left is the actual button itself, which we'll look into in a little bit more detail separately. Then I want to go to text. Okay, so I want to turn that off because I don't want the button to have text in it. If we remember from our picture, the button doesn't have text, it has an arrow. So I want to sort that out now and get that done by turning on the graphic. What that's going to do is then give me the opportunity to choose a graphic here in this particular part. So I'm going to click on that. It's going to bring up all the Font Awesome stuff. I'm going to type in arrow because that's basically what I'm looking for. And I'm going to click on that, and it's hopefully going to give me the arrow. Yep, and then I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go to white as my arrow color. You can see that here. But also I'm going to do exactly the same for my interaction because I need the interaction obviously to remain the same color. I also want to take a wee look at the size of this. I'm going to go back to setup again. Base font size I'm going to change to 3, and you can see here we've got it there. And then we just need to make some changes to the way that it's set out from a flex perspective, but we'll do that later on whenever we look at the actual container itself. So I've now got this set up, and I want to get my search set up. I might go back and actually look at the container and see how the container is set up from a flex perspective. I'm going to try and space it round. Yep, so that now makes everything centered. And what it's doing is looking at all of the space in between all of these and making it the same. And we now have that fully centered from there. So I'm now going to look at the search. Okay, the search is the same. I want to set the base font size probably to around 2, I'm guessing. We'll check with that whenever we load it in. It's actually a bit big, so we might leave that at 1 for the moment. I'm going to change the background color again to Facebook, which is what I want it to be. Again, you can still see the outline somewhat of the overall. So I'm going to go down to the design section and I'm going to remove again the and we're going to do the same for the interaction. And you'll see now there's nothing there. You can't see anything apart from the text, which is very hard to see, I guess, on this particular video. So let's make the change. The main thing that we want to look at is to ensure that we're set up in the right way from the perspective of the content itself. So what that means is there's 3 parts of the content. There's your input placement, which is your magnifying glass, submit placement, which is the search, and the clear placement, which is the X at the end. Now, I don't necessarily want to have the X at the end. I just might just take that out because the actual Facebook header itself, when we look at it, doesn't have it at all. It just has the magnifying glass and it just has the search. So we're just going to fix the search and the magnifying glass and take away the clear. And we're going to do that through these 3 sections here. So go to input. That is what we're looking at from a search perspective. Okay, so font size, I'm going to change that to 2, see what it comes out like. Yep, that's good enough size for me. I'm going to change the color to white, and I'm going to make it completely white. You can see that here. We see it's a bit thick, so I'm going to change to ultralight, and that's going to just dumb it down and take away a lot of the bolding from there. The last thing I'm going to do then is take a wee look at my submit. Again, the color, I want to change that to white, completely white. Okay. And then I also want to ensure that the interaction part of it is white also, in order to make sure that it doesn't change or anything when we roll over it. Again, I'm going to change the font size to 2, yeah, and that's going to give me a big magnifying glass as it is in this. Obviously not completely the same. This seems to have more weight to it, and I haven't really worked out how to do that yet completely. We'll move on to the clear perspective of it, and what I want to try and do is remove that completely. So I'm going to change the font size to 0, and that won't come up at all. So whenever I type, we get black text, but as you can see, there is no clear X. So let's sort out the black text, and we'll take that out and go back to the normal. We'll do that in the input section. You'll note here text color isn't exactly the same in the interaction, so I want to change that to white. And that's it done. So if I now click in here and type in Fat Lad Food, as you can see, it comes out correctly, and I can't type because I have fat fingers. But hey, that's okay. So the next part then is to do the other button. I've shown you how to do that here. I'm not going to bore you with it, so we'll do a quick edit so that you can see the whole thing built back together. Okay, so I've done that now. I couldn't actually find the 3 dots that are here for some reason within the Font Awesome catalog, but hey, that's okay. We can do without it for once. What I've given you is the hamburger icon, and basically it's pretty much the same, bar a few noticeable differences. In the next video, we're going to move on and create this menu, and I'm going to show you how I mainly create all of the interactions within that. So thanks very much for tuning in, and I'll speak to you soon. Okay, we're back now looking at the second part of our Facebook header builder. As we saw in the last video, we were creating this top half, as we can see here. This video we're going to look at how to build out this menu and put in this little interaction on the bottom, so that whenever we click on something, we've got the color and we know exactly where we are with the menu itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click in to this bar, which I've renamed top menu. We're going to make it a little bit smaller than what it is right now. So again, I'm going to drop it down to about 10. And then the height itself within there, I'm going to put in at probably 4, I would think. So we get this size here, maybe a little bit higher, maybe we'll make it 5. So again, it's coming in at this size, and what we want to do is put a menu in here. As we can see, that's essentially what this is. It's a simple menu. So we're just going to pop that in now in the layout. So we're going to add a container, and to that container we're going to add a navigation inline, which is here. And then we're going to go into that specifically. Okay. So firstly, what we're going to do is we're going to set up the menu that's actually there. And what we're going to do is put in this top menu that I've already created. You can see it here, page activity and insights, and that's been put in that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to be playing with Flexbox quite a lot in this. I'm going to set the self flex to fill space equally, and we can see that it's broken down and filled out the space of this particular container as equally as possible, but obviously we may wish this container to be larger so that it fills up the majority here. So I'm going to click in to the I think this is the bar. We go back and we click into the container itself, and I want to make some changes to the self flex. So I'm going to put that in as fill space equally as well, and you'll see now that my entire menu completely fills out the space of the container, and my container itself fills out the space of the box. So now that we've changed those, this font size really isn't big enough, so we're going to go into the menu itself. How I did that was click on the menu, you can see it navigation inline, or else you can go to navigation inline here and click on the search and it will bring this up, and this is your full menu back again where we chose the menu and set this up. Base font size, I want it to be a little bit bigger than that, and we'll try with some. Okay, so what we're left with now that we've got the Flexbox set up and we've got the menu set up, the way the menu works is when we roll over page, you can see it goes in as black, which is perfectly fine because that's exactly what it does on Facebook. So there's no real need to change there. What we do need to change though is, as we've seen below page, we can see that there's a blue line below it, and that's how we create that through particles within the header builder itself. How to do that is we want to open up the particles editor within interactive. So what we'll do is go to top links, and then we'll select interactive here, and it'll bring us across to here, and we'll open up one of the particles. So what I tend to do is if I have two, this one is for the side and generally is here, and this one is always for below. Now you can't see anything happening just now, but what we're going to do is fix this. So what we want the location to be is at the bottom, because we can see from here that the bottom is where it comes in. We want it to stay inside the menu itself. We don't want it to be outside of it. We want it to stay, because as you can see, it doesn't go out, it goes in. And then we leave the scale as it is, and the transform starts from the bottom right, so it will come in from the bottom right hand side. Then here's where we actually do the particle. The width remains 100 at percent, as you can see, and then here what I'll do is change this to probably around 10, and hopefully you won't be able to see it right away, but once this is changed, we're then going to change the color to the Facebook color. So now that we've changed it to the Facebook color, what you should see is when we roll over it, there we go, and there's the coming up below, and if we roll over here and we roll over here, you'll see that coming right across the board. Okay, so we're back with the third installment of the Facebook header builder. What we're trying to do this time is create the hero image. I was originally going to do this in one video along with this particular part, but this hero image is quite interesting because there's a few options that you wouldn't think to choose, which is what I had pretty much found when I did it. So I already have this image uploaded, so we'll now go ahead and build it. I've got the third bar set up, and we're not going to add a container. or any elements to this. We're going to do it all within the bar itself. I'm going to click on the import, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click this advanced box, because what it does is it opens up backgrounds so that we can actually implement. You can see videos here. We could put in a video plus an image. If we click here, we have an image and all of its individual scaling. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to go ahead and get an image. But again, if you want to do videos, here it is. It's right there. I'm going to click on it. Here's the Fat Lad Food one. And I'm going to put it in. It's going to do whatever it needs to do to load now. As you can see, my image is now loaded in full. Probably going to make this a little bit bigger, because if we actually look at it, it's much bigger than what we've got here. So I'll make it a little bit bigger here. I'm just going to change this font size to 25, probably a little bit bigger than that actually. I'll put it out at 30, and we can see it's now scaled up and we've got the full image. Welcome to the fourth part of the Facebook header builder tutorial using Xpro's header builder. Today I'm going to make the profile picture and also the profile name. We can see that in this particular portion here, and then we're just going to stick a little button just below it. That will give us our learn more section as it's set up on my actual Facebook page for Fat Lad Food. So let's begin. So I'm going to go into here, profile. I'm going to add a container, and then I'm going to add an image because I want to get this particular part of it made in. You see the image here. I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to select my image, which I've already dropped into my media bay. I'm just going to let that load in. You can see it's cut off because of the size of the bar, and I don't necessarily want this to be at 200 by 200. I want it to be a little bit smaller. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on scaling, and it's going to scale the image down, and now you can see it's at its normal and proper size, and it now fits within the profile bar itself. The next part we're going to move on to is the text. Go back to layout. I'm going to create a new container, and then I'm going to add in a text box. I'm now going to click on the text box in order to change this particular set of text. So you'll see that here. We get a nice little WYSIWYG editor up, just the normal TinyMCE. I'm just going to put in Fat Lad Food as it is on the website. It should then begin to update, and you'll see it's stuck away over here somewhere. Which I don't necessarily want or need. So I'm now going to go back into the container, and I'm going to change some of the flex layout stuff and change this to start, and I'll pull it the whole way right back so that it's next to it. Vertical, I'm going to go start as well. The main thing about this is a little bug here. I've obviously typed in the right text, but the full text hasn't actually come up, as you can see. We'll do it again and see if we can get it to load in differently. And as we can see, it's loaded in correctly now. The next part of it is the @Fat Lad Food below. So I'm going to look at that, and then we're going to sort out the styling in between here by changing some of the box properties. So we'll go back to layout, container again. I'm going to add an additional piece of text. I'm going to click on here, let it load in. As you can see, it's patted it and dropped it straight in there. I want to change this to Fat Lad Food, and we can see again, for some reason it seems to have this bug, and now it should be changed incorrectly, but you'll note they're next to each other. Don't necessarily want that to be the case, so I want the container that this particular text is held in to be a different layout. So I'm going to go to the container, I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to go to flex layout, and you'll see here I'm going to click on column, and bang, they automatically become next to each other from there. Okay, so the next thing that we'll want to fix is the spacing issue, because they're stuck right next together. What I've done is I've gone into the container, I believe, yeah, and what I'm going to do now is change the margins. So I'm going to change that to 5, and that should space it all out quite nicely, and it will now look exactly the same as this, bar a few bits and pieces in relation to the font itself. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a button to the next layer. I'm going to go back into layout. I'm going to go down to here and we can see profile. I'm just going to select bar 6. I'm going to change it to button. And we're going to put a button into this. So we're going to click on container and we're going to add the next module, which in this case is a button, as expected, given that that's what we're trying to achieve. And as you can see, the button is here. However, we're going to want to make some changes to that button in order for it to fit in with what we're looking for. Background, again, as expected, I want that to be the normal Facebook color background. And also then we want to ensure that everything is set up correctly from a button perspective. So let's get down to the text. I want to change the text to white, completely white. I'll do so by this, and we can see that that is now changed correctly. But again, we want to change the interaction type as we have done previously. Okay, and that's it fully set up. I want to take away some of the drop shadow because we don't need it, so I'm going to do that now. We're changing this to transparent, and that removes it completely. Now I want to go to the actual button itself. Okay, so what we want to do now is make this full length of this container. How we're going to do that is actually going into the container itself. As you can see, we're here. Just going to change some of the flex properties here. I'm going to change this to start. I'm going to change this to stretch. And as you can see, that stretches it horizontally. Am I right? Wrong. Vertically. If I click on column, we can see it automatically changes it back. So we'll do horizontal to stretch, and that'll give us a fully stretched out button as we expected it to do. And that's how we can build in a button from there. If you want to have a graphic in there, we'll just click into the button. We'll go to graphic, and then we can set up a new graphic by enabling it from here. And you can see it'll give us the opportunity to choose one. And we're going to do that here. I'm just going to do pencil for this because I believe if I remember rightly it was a pencil. And we'll click on this. It'll load in and we will change its color to white. And same here. And as we can see, we now have the Learn More button, which is exactly what we expected to have. We'll click here, and here it is right here, apart from the fact that the font styling is slightly different. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do is create the last menu. So I'm going to show you that here. It's this particular portion. Now to get the icons and everything into menu items, I've done a separate video for that in the tips and tricks section that will show you how to get your icons right and do all of that and get it set up correctly. But for now I've already got it set up just for the purposes of this tutorial. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into that bar, main menu, and we're going to add a new container. And we're going to add in navigation inline. Okay, so what I've noticed is with this navigation inline, since I updated to 1.0.4, this seems to be messing around from a styling perspective. I'm not really sure why that's happening, to be quite frank with you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by loading the integrity preset onto this. That we get it set up. You'll note within changes it will change backwards and forwards between, and I'm not really sure why, but for the purpose of this tutorial it's irrelevant because I want to show you how to set up the menu itself. So how to do that, we're going to set up the menu. The menu's already been set up as it said before. I'm going to change that now, and as you can see I've got post, photo, promote and edit page just like I do right here, and we're going to now set it up so that these are these are vertical rather than horizontal, as you see right there. I'm going to set align to center for the moment. You can see that that's kind of fixed it a little bit. We're going to make some changes now to how things are done from this perspective. I'm going to click on column for this. As you can see, what happens here, it automatically skips these up into the wrong, and we don't necessarily want that to happen. We also don't necessarily want these interactions either. So what we're going to do is click on top links. First of all, I'm going to remove the interactions. And I'm doing that simply by choosing primary and taking that away completely. Again, this is going to load back through. Then from there, I'm going to go back to top links. And I'm going to change their flex layout to column, and you can see that that gives us the column look that we're actually looking for. And that's essentially it, and we've set up the full header now. So let's take a look at the full thing. Just going to click on the wee down arrow here, and I'm going to scroll back up to let you see it in full, and there we go. So if I put this back up, you can see we've got a fully working version of the Facebook mobile header through X-Pro Header Builder. And to be quite frank, not a really painful exercise, quite an easy exercise actually in building. So hopefully that should get you started. As always, if there's anything that you want to talk about, by all means let me know. Please also take the time to subscribe to the channel. The more videos we get up and the more likes and so on and so forth that we get, the better. So give us a thumbs up or subscribe to the video and click the bell icon. But thanks very much for following along. Hopefully you'll got a lot out of this, and we'll be back with further videos as we move on.